China built a dam so massive that it literally slowed down Earth's rotation. You are about to witness the construction of the most ambitious engineering project in human history. The Three Gorges Dam holds back 11 trillion gallons of water and generates enough power to light up Switzerland, Austria, and Portugal combined. This is not just a dam. This is humanity moving 42 billion tons of mass and changing the physics of our planet. But before any of that could happen, China had to solve a problem that seemed completely impossible. The Yangtze River is the third longest river in the world. For thousands of years, it had been untamable. And in 1994, China decided to build the largest dam ever conceived right in the middle of it. But here is what nobody tells you about building a dam in a raging river. You cannot just start pouring concrete into rushing water. You have to move the entire river first. The engineers faced a nightmare scenario. The Yangtze carries 19,000 cubic meters of water past this spot every single second. That is enough to fill 8 Olympic swimming pools flowing past you in 1 second, and they had to stop it, redirect it, control it, all while building a structure 607 feet tall in the riverbed below. So they came up with a plan that sounds absolutely insane. They would build the dam in 3 phases, redirecting the river twice, essentially forcing one of the world's mightiest rivers to flow exactly where they wanted it to go. The first phase required blasting a massive diversion channel through solid rock on the river's left bank. This involved excavating 12 million cubic meters of rock and earth. That is enough material to bury every building in downtown Los Angeles. They used 3,000 pounds of explosives in a single detonation to create this channel. The blast was so powerful it registered on seismographs 60 miles away. But creating the channel was only step 1. Now came the truly terrifying part. They had to actually force the Yangtze into this new channel, while simultaneously building a cofferdam to seal off the original riverbed. Think about what that means. You are standing on the banks of a river that has been flowing in the same path for millions of years, carrying enough force to flip cargo ships like toys. And you are about to tell it to go somewhere else. In November 1997, they closed the diversion dam. Thousands of workers dumped massive concrete tetrapods and rocks into the river, racing against the current. These were not small stones. Each tetrapod weighed up to 6 tons. They dropped them from trucks, from cranes, from barges, creating an artificial mountain in the middle of the Yangtze. The river fought back viciously. The current tried to wash everything away. Workers operated in shifts around the clock, dumping 40,000 cubic meters of material every single day. Then something remarkable happened. The river began to turn, slowly at first. Then all at once, billions of gallons of water started flowing through the diversion channel instead of its ancient path. For the first time in human history, the Yangtze had been moved. The original riverbed sat exposed, muddy, empty, ready for construction. But the engineers knew they were racing against time. They had maybe 2 years before the river would need to flow through the dam itself, and they had not even started building the foundation yet. What happened next would require the largest continuous concrete pour in history. The exposed riverbed revealed something terrifying. The rock beneath was not stable enough to hold the weight they were about to place on it. We were talking about eventually supporting a structure that would weigh more than the entire Great Pyramid of Giza. The bedrock had fractures, weak points, areas where water had eroded the stone for millennia. If they built on this without reinforcement, the entire dam would crack apart within years. So they did something that had never been attempted at this scale. They drilled 72,000 holes into the bedrock. Not small holes. These went down 30 to 50 feet deep, some even deeper. Then they pumped liquid concrete into every single one, creating massive anchors that fused the dam to the earth itself. But here is where it gets insane. They also had to drill horizontal drainage tunnels through the foundation to relieve water pressure. If they did not, groundwater would build up beneath the dam and literally lift it off its foundation. Once the foundation was secured, the real monster emerged. The concrete pouring began. And this is where the numbers stop making sense. They needed to pour 28 million cubic yards of concrete. That is enough to build a sidewalk 3 feet wide that wraps around Earth's equator twice. But concrete has a deadly problem. When it cures, it generates enormous heat. Pour too much at once, and it creates temperature differentials that cause catastrophic cracking. The dam would destroy itself from the inside out. Chinese engineers solved this with a system so elaborate it borders on insane. They embedded 35,000 miles of cooling pipes inside the concrete. Chilled water flowed through these pipes continuously, controlling the temperature of the curing concrete to within 2 degrees. They divided the dam into sections, pouring in layers, allowing each section to cool before adding the next. At peak construction, they were pouring 55,000 cubic meters of concrete every single month. The pouring operation ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for over 6 years straight. But while concrete was rising from the riverbed, engineers faced another problem that threatened everything. By November 2000, the dam's main structure was rising, but it wasn't finished. Not even close. And the diversion channel couldn't handle the Yangtze forever. The river needed to flow through the dam itself, which meant they had to redirect the Yangtze a second time while construction continued around it. This is the part that should have been impossible. The engineers had built spillways and sluice gates into the dam's center sections. But these weren't open yet. They were still under construction. So they did something that sounds like engineering suicide. They blasted another diversion channel on the right bank of the river, then sealed off the left channel they had used for the first phase. The Yangtze, which they had already moved once, now had to be moved again. Imagine controlling a force of nature twice, commanding it to flow exactly where you need it, all while building around it. On October 26, 2000, they closed the left diversion channel. The same brutal process repeated. Tens of thousands of tons of rock and concrete dumped into rushing water. The current fought every single piece, and then the river turned again. This time, it flowed through the right bank channel, while workers opened the central spillways and sluice gates in the dam itself. Water began flowing through the structure they had built, through openings designed into the dam. For the first time, the Yangtze was flowing through human-made passages, not around them. But here's what nobody expected. The weight of the rising reservoir behind the dam was already causing problems. Seismographs detected increased micro-earthquake activity. The sheer mass of water was pressing down on geological faults that had been stable for thousands of years. Some engineers started questioning whether the entire project might trigger a catastrophic earthquake. They had no choice but to keep building. Because what came next would be the technically complex installation ever attempted. The dam was rising, the river was controlled, but without turbines, this was just an incredibly expensive wall. China needed to install 32 hydroelectric generators inside the structure, and these were not normal turbines. Each one weighed 6,000 tons. That is heavier than the Eiffel Tower's metal structure, and they had to be installed with tolerances measured in millimeters, deep inside a dam that was still under construction, with millions of gallons of water flowing nearby. The turbine halls were excavated underground on both sides of the dam. Massive caverns carved into solid rock, each one large enough to hold a football field. Getting the turbines down there required custom-built cranes that could lift weights no crane had ever lifted before. Each generator housing was lowered section by section through shafts that dropped 20 stories underground. One mistake, one cable failure, and 6,000 tons of precision machinery would be destroyed, along with anyone standing below. But the real nightmare was the assembly. Each turbine had to be perfectly balanced. The runner blades alone weighed 440 tons and spun at 75 revolutions per minute once operational. At those speeds, even a tiny imbalance would create vibrations that could tear the entire generator apart. Chinese and foreign technicians worked together in the underground halls, using laser alignment systems to position each component. The margin for error was essentially zero. Then came the moment of truth. In July 2003, they filled the reservoir behind the dam to 90 meters above sea level. Water pressure began building against the spillways. The first turbines were connected to the grid. Engineers held their breath as they opened the water gates. Billions of gallons of pressure slammed into the turbine blades. The generators spun up. The vibration stayed within acceptable ranges. Power began flowing out, 700 megawatts from a single turbine. Then another came online. Then another. But as more turbines activated, sensors detected something nobody had predicted. The reservoir was so massive, it was literally deforming the Earth's crust beneath it. The reservoir kept rising. By 2009, it reached its maximum depth of 575 feet above sea level. That's taller than the Washington Monument measured from base to tip, and it stretched back 393 miles upstream. The amount of water now held behind this dam was incomprehensible. 11 trillion gallons, 42 billion tons of mass, and every single drop of it was in a place it had never been before. NASA scientists were watching because something extraordinary was happening. When you take that much mass and relocate it from sea level to nearly 600 feet higher, you are redistributing weight on a planetary scale. It is like taking a spinning figure skater and extending their arms outward. The spin slows down. Earth's rotation slowed by 0.06 microseconds per day. Your day is now longer because this dam exists. Not by much. You will never notice it. But atomic clocks measured it. It is real. It is permanent. But that was not all. The mass redistribution also shifted Earth's axis by roughly 3/4 of an inch. The planet's poles moved, not enough to change your GPS coordinates, but enough that scientists could detect it. Think about what that means. Humans built something so massive that we altered the rotational physics of an entire planet. We changed how fast Earth spins. We moved its axis with concrete and steel and raw determination. The final turbine came online in 2012. All 32 generators are now operational. The Three Gorges Dam was complete. 18 years of construction. 1.3 million people relocated. 13 cities flooded to create the reservoir. In exchange, China gained the world's largest power station, generating 98.8 terawatt-hours of electricity every single year. That's enough to power Switzerland, Austria, and Portugal combined, just like we said at the beginning. But here is the part that should terrify and inspire you in equal measure. The dam generates so much power because of the sheer height difference between the reservoir and the river below. Water falls nearly 300 feet through those turbines, and gravity does the work. 42 billion tons of water pressed down, converted into electricity every single second of every single day. The force is so immense that the dam itself has to be 1.4 miles wide just to hold it back. 607 feet of reinforced concrete anchored into bedrock with 72,000 foundation bolts. You wanted to know how China built a dam so massive it slowed Earth's rotation? This is how. They moved a river twice. They poured enough concrete to circle the planet. They installed generators heavier than the Eiffel Tower in underground caverns. They relocated over 1 million people and flooded entire cities. They worked for 18 years straight, never stopping, never backing down. And when they were done, they had created something that exists on a planetary scale. A structure so massive that every time you check your watch, Earth's day is microseconds longer because 42 billion tons of water now sit where they were never meant to be. Humans did not just build a dam. We moved enough mass to change the rotation of our planet. And the truly terrifying part? This probably will not be the last time we do it.